In a luxurious mansion, a billionaire discovers that items from his storage room have gone missing 3 times in just 21 days. Suspicion falls on his elderly black housekeeper, the woman who has served his family for decades. The next day, he secretly follows her after work to uncover the truth. But what he finds doesn't expose a thief. It shatters his assumptions and changes everything he thought he knew. Before we dive deeper into this story, tell me, where are you listening from? And don't forget to subscribe because tomorrow I've got something special waiting for you. Owen Everett Holmes was not a man who missed details. At 32, he ran a multinational development firm with the kind of precision normally reserved for neurosurgery. People described him as brilliant, decisive, emotionally unavailable, but efficient to the core. He dressed in dark suits with barely a crease, spoke in clipped tones that left no room for guessing, and moved through life as if every second not accounted for was a failure in management. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't warm. He simply functioned on a level where empathy was impractical. That morning, Owen delivered the keynote at the Summit on Equity and Technology in Urban Renewal. The applause echoed cleanly across the auditorium as he stepped away from the podium, his tailored suit catching the light just right. His speech, structured around data models and ethical return on investment, was praised as sharp, forward-thinking, and criminally visionary. He nodded through the compliments, posed for the requested photos, then slipped out exactly 2 minutes ahead of schedule. The drive home to the northern edge of New Camden was silent. He didn't like music in the car. It distracted him. Instead, he reviewed a dashboard of live company metrics on his tablet. Project overruns, hiring delays, shipment efficiency, investment risk scores. Everything was within thresholds, as it should be. His estate recognized his vehicle on approach. Gates opened automatically, lights inside adjusted. The front entrance clicked open before he reached the last step. Layla James was standing just inside, as she always did. No words, just a nod and a slight adjustment of the folded cloth in her hand. "Welcome home, Mr. Holmes," she said softly. "Anything urgent?" "No, sir. Your messages are on your desk. Dinner will be ready at 7. He nodded, already halfway up the stairs. Layla didn't follow. She returned to the kitchen, disappearing into routine. Layla had worked in the Holmes household since Owen was 5. After the accident that took his parents, it had been the one to sit by his bed at night, the one to comb his hair before school, the one who remembered which foods made him sick, which dreams made him cry, and which books soothed him back to sleep. She had never asked for recognition. She had never expected it. Over the years, her presence had become part of the house, like the polished floor or the steady ticking of the hall clock. Later that evening, while checking the latest performance reports from a portfolio partner in Singapore, Owen noticed a system flag in the home management interface. It was minor, 3 instances over 21 days of unaccounted for items from the food inventory and first aid cabinet. Quantities were small, a few cans, a couple of energy bars, a bottle of antiseptic, all flagged by the automated reconciliation log as missing with no associated event. He stared at the notification. It wasn't enough to sound an alarm, but it was inconsistent, and Owen did not tolerate inconsistency. Not in his business, not in his home. He accessed the internal access logs. Only 4 individuals had nighttime clearance to storage: himself, his assistant, who was currently on vacation, the estate's head chef, who had not worked nights in over a month, and Layla. Her name appeared on 3 dates: each time roughly between 10:15 and 10:45 p.m. Each time aligned precisely with the anomalies. He didn't react, not outwardly. He simply sat back, stared at the screen a little longer, and felt something shift inside his chest. Not anger, not suspicion, something stranger, something colder. The kind of feeling you get when someone you thought you understood suddenly doesn't match the picture anymore. It wasn't the food. It wasn't the supplies. He had more than enough of everything. It was the silence, the unspoken act. Layla had access. She knew the system. She could have asked, but she didn't. He turned off the monitor, closed the tablet, and looked toward the hallway. The house was quiet, impeccable. Layla was somewhere in it, folding linen or adjusting the lighting for the evening schedule, doing what she had always done, supporting his life without ever stepping into its center. And for the first time in years, Owen realized he had no idea what Layla James did after she left the estate. No idea where she went, who she spoke to, whether she had family or friends, what she ate for dinner when she wasn't cooking his. He knew the time she woke up, the way she ironed his cuffs, the exact temperature she steeped his tea, but he didn't know her. And now, for reasons he couldn't explain yet, that felt like a problem. Owen didn't sleep well that night. He wasn't tossing or pacing or replaying the data in his head. It wasn't even that kind of restlessness. It was the kind that lived just under the skin, a tightness, a mild pulse in the chest that refused to be reasoned with. The kind of discomfort that didn't interrupt your logic, but quietly challenged it. By morning, the feeling hadn't passed, and by the following evening, it had grown into a decision. He told his assistant to clear his last meeting, no details, just to reschedule. He turned down dinner with the investors from Toronto. Then just after 9:30, Owen stepped into his own car, a black electric sedan with glass that darkened at the push of a button, and drove himself out of the estate. He took the long way through the city, not the express route, but the surface streets, past the banks that bore his name in glass, past the high-rises where he knew every tenant by unit and margin. He didn't know exactly what he was looking for, only that he couldn't ignore it anymore. By 10:15, he was parked down the street from the estate, his estate. From that angle, with the windows dark and lights automated, it looked like a set piece, not a home. He watched from inside the car as Layla stepped out the side gate, carrying the same cloth bag he had seen folded in the laundry room earlier that week. She wore a long gray coat, the kind that kept warmth in and questions out, and a scarf pulled neatly across her neck. Her steps were steady, not hurried, not secretive, just deliberate. Owen waited until she turned the corner, then followed. She didn't take a car. She walked to the bus stop, waited under the flickering street lamp, and boarded the city line toward the east side. Owen trailed behind in silence, never too close, always just far enough. The further they went, the more the scenery changed. The manicured sidewalks gave way to cracked pavement. The luxury apartments became weather-stained brick. Storefronts dimmed, street noise shifted from the buzz of nightlife to the drone of tired machinery and distant radios. When Layla stepped off the bus, she moved through the neighborhood like someone who had lived there for years. No hesitation, no confusion. She turned down a narrow side street, past a closed laundromat, then slipped into a low building with chipped paint and barred windows. The sign above the door read in peeling letters, Community Youth Resource Center. Owen parked at the far end of the block and approached on foot, stopping just short of the entrance. He peered through the side window, not to spy, he told himself, but to observe, to understand. Inside, Layla was arranging food on a folding table, plastic containers carefully packed, clearly labeled, not the expensive sort, the kind used in diners and church basements. She laid out rice, beans, cooked vegetables, soft rolls, and soup. Steam lifted from the containers, fogging the air slightly. Around her, about 12 children, ranging from age maybe 5 to 12, waited in soft lines. They didn't rush. They knew her. One girl, no more than 8, asked, "Where's this food from, Miss Layla?" Layla smiled, warm but worn. "From good people who didn't need it, but I made sure it came here while it still mattered." The girl nodded. No follow-up questions, just gratitude. Layla handed her a plate and moved to the next. Owen didn't move. He didn't breathe for a second. It wasn't shame he felt. Not yet.